So at the same time, he's supposed to be someone who's like has a really low tone voice. He's autistic, and all he does is sit at home and think about being a knight all day. And he lacks social skills. That's one thing going on. And at the same time, he's begging a woman his mother's age for sex every single day after getting rejected, which I can guarantee you no one who lacks social skills can ever do. It's like a dream for a person who lacks social skills to be begging someone their mother's age for sex after getting rejected by them and then still doing it the right next day. It's not possible. It's like the ultimate test for a person who lacks social skills. It's not possible. Anyways, these people are like a bunch of douchebags. I hate to say it, but yeah. So now, pretty much, they have gone on to begging me to help them with their sex scheme ads. To which I would only like to reply by saying, "Get the heck off my face!" Like seriously, do I look like that kind of guy to you? Like, I would never do that. But this thing that they have gotten going right now with law enforcement and what they're doing pretty much proves beyond a reasonable doubt that the reason my brain savant is not freed, the reason they refuse to do a 30-minute brain savant test, even though it's very crucial for them to prove the absence of their guilt, is due to their sex addiction. Law enforcement has a sex addiction, and the reason they are refusing to do a brain savant test is because they're scared that what might come out in the end of the 30-minute test. It's no secret that artificial intelligence did not lie about what it saw in the 1-minute brain savant test, and it's also no secret that I am not psychic. I was not told about what came out of the artificial intelligence report, and yet I know that the artificial intelligence report has marked my brain savant as being extremely powerful, a triple savant encompassing innovation, photographic memory, and focusing, and that artificial intelligence has also marked it as being the only brain savant in the world whose powers increase over time. We have 6 hours long brain savant test done on August 9, 2022. It was only with ear drugging lore. Then you have brain savant test where on April 22nd, 2025, where the ears were let go of, and instead of just this much, my ears were all the way on the back of my head, and my brain inside was like that. The brain scan data will easily prove this fact. Yeah. So basically, artificial intelligence has already told them about these things. And then on November 14, 2025, and May 10, 2026, artificial intelligence also told them that my brain savant powers increase over time. It's no secret that at the end of the 30-minute test, we're all obviously going to find out that artificial intelligence was not a liar, and nor was I psychic to know what the artificial intelligence report said. But that being said, law enforcement has absolutely no right inhibiting this 30-minute brain savant test, which would prove the absence of their guilt, regardless of what we see at the end of the 30-minute brain savant test. It would take away the guilt from law enforcement, because law enforcement will now prove to the courts in the entire world that everything that they've done so far while running these sex schemes and money fraud with people like Uncle Joey since 2001 is not due to and then subsequently wanting to frame me with things like the wedding incident and things of that certain nature is not due to extreme envy of my brain savant. Since right now we even have people like Assad who have proven to be law enforcement's BFFs that law enforcement knew were fully involved in the wedding incident and everything else that they never reported, never cared about, that we now know that Assad was involved in, and law enforcement never cared. We also had the ability to dig into what was going on in 2011 when law enforcement tipped my dad, the greedy framer, off on how he was giving sermons to mass sermons to people on mass murdering innocent human beings, something my mother has never uttered. More than 25 years I've lived with my mother. She never uttered one bad word considered bad or racist my entire life. And so it's just, it's insane. But this thing, I find it incredibly amusing and hilarious that Junaid has changed his entire personality by now. He's got a low tone voice. Apparently he's autistic, and all he does is sit at home and think about being a knight all day. But at the same time, he's also begging women his mother's age for sex, and then talk about personality differences. Like one personality is this, and then it's just at the same time he's adding that into his personality as well. And then at the same time, if he gets rejected by that woman, like it could be like an elementary school teacher or something, he would like the next day he's gonna try to beg her again for sex. It's incredible the feat that these people are going through just for sex. And now they have even started to desperately ask me to help them with their sex game ads, to which I would only like to reply by simply saying, get the heck off my face. Like, seriously, what do I look like? But the fact that they are doing all of this has proven without a reasonable doubt that the reason that Junaid had this anger against me was due to him thinking that I had something to do with him getting rejected by these girls, since obviously the fire stick is broken, the front under part of my car is broken, my phone charging adapter is broken, all because Junaid is getting rejected by these girls. Clearly proves that law enforcement and Junaid do think that I have something to do with these rejections that Junaid is getting, due to which they had Junaid, gave Junaid talking points against me, and Junaid went and he said these things against me in court that he had no idea about, and law enforcement could not say themselves, since law enforcement, all they've done is run sex schemes and money fraud the entire time. And all I have done since I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child is work hard with my mother. Big difference between me and law enforcement. So yeah, all these broken things and all this anger fulminating clearly shows that these people, law enforcement and Junaid, think that I'm responsible for their rejection by these girls. And right now they're probably angry at the fact that I'm refusing to help them. It makes no sense for someone like me to be helping law enforcement, first of all, since law enforcement is arguing in court that I'm a bad person whose brain savant should be locked up, which makes no sense to be begging that person to be helping them with their sex schemes. Incredibly disgusting, considering the fact that they go and scam other people's daughters, and then they tell them lies about people. Like, they would be like, this person is a CEO or this or that, and then the girl would find out that he's nothing like that, and he loses his job every year. And then the person would start oversharing, like, I'm getting into fights at my work, and I'm gonna have to leave this work like I do every single year, every other work. And and then after the girl gets disgusted by this individual, like, you were lying yesterday, and now you're telling me all these things about yourselves, like, they're completely opposite to what you were lying about yesterday, about being a CEO and this and that. And obviously then the girl would get disgusted by them, and then they would blame me for it. They'd be like, it's all Hassan's fault. He's the reason we're getting rejected. Like, look at your own actions. Stop trying to blame me for everything. I have nothing to do with this. These people need to go get themselves checked out. Okay. And the other thing is, the government needs to understand that not letting me study or use my brain savant powers is the reason that human rights concerns are being raised. It's never occurred, even in the medieval era. No one's been jailed or tortured just to inhibit them from being able to study. And right now, it's incredibly clear and obvious that law enforcement is obviously doing everything to inhibit me from being able to study, since they're not letting me study. They have my brain savant locked up, and they would refuse to do a 30-minute brain savant test to help save their life right now, even though the end of the 30 minutes, they're innocent. Law enforcement is, regardless of whether we see what artificial intelligence said we would see and what I said we would see. And since I'm not psychic enough to know what the report said without anyone telling me, obviously I'm telling the truth. Regardless of whether we see what artificial intelligence said we will see at the end of the 30 minutes, or we see a nothing burger, law enforcement still wins at the end of the 30 minutes, because they've proven in front of the entire world that everything that they're doing is not to inhibit me from being able to show my brain savant in front of the entire world for just 30 minutes. And law enforcement is refusing to do that still, despite running their sex schemes and money fraud. We know how the sex games for Uncle Joey went in November 2023, where Pervez Elahi started quoting him and showing allegiance to him because they felt so bad that I guess they were like losing at being able to make these sex game ads for Uncle Joey. And we know who Uncle Joey was trying to run after at that time. It was a woman whose name starts with a D as in Denver, and I'm not going to say anything more than that. If you can figure it out, you can figure it out. If you can't, then you can't. But anyways, yeah, it wasn't working out, and people were giving condolences to Uncle Joey and law enforcement at the funeral. You got to remember, at the funeral, not the person who, not the deceased family. The irony over here that they use the funeral for doing this. Not the deceased family who's being given condolences by people like Pervez Elahi and everyone else. Uncle Joey and law enforcement are being given condolences because they think that they could curry favor with the government if they try to give their condolences to these people for their rejections on their sex game ads. Yes, this is all law enforcement's done since 2001. And right now, it's obvious that the only reason that they're inhibiting me from being able to study is due to my brain savant, and it's extremely wrong since it's never happened. Even in the medieval era of human history, no one's been jailed and tortured just to inhibit them from being able to study. I just want to study, and if law enforcement cannot let me study, then I just want my 30-minute brain savant test, and just to prove the innocence, the absence of guilt from law enforcement, so that people would know and see that law enforcement is not doing everything just to inhibit my brain savant from being able to be seen. Now, the excuse that, oh, if we let his brain savant go, then everyone in the world would know that we had it locked up, and that's going to raise human rights concerns. Excuse me, that excuse is no longer valid due to the fact that law enforcement did this brain savant test a mile away from the Kremlin in Moscow, Russia, where Russia, China, India, and all these countries already saw that my brain savant was fully locked up, which means that law enforcement should do this brain savant test now, so that everyone knows that there's an absence of guilt, and everything that law enforcement has done till now is not just to inhibit my brain savant from being able to be seen out in the open performing. Thank you.